Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Fuel community. My name is Wack. Today is May 5th, and today's episode is going to cover a potential new replacement for RocketScan that's being worked on. We're going to be talking about Vitalik saying to simplify the L1. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of TradFi coming onto crypto and Ethereum. We're going to be talking about so many different things. It's a jam-packed episode, so let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so the place to start today is with this post from Drizzle, and Drizzle got wicked by the server on the Rocket Pool Discord for posting images and video spam, and got timed out for 2 minutes and lost the post. He said I should have saved that text. Anyway, came back a few minutes later with a new post saying, "Hello fellow Rocketeers, want to share once again a bit of bread on the side project I've been tinkering with." So it says over the past few weeks, I've been working on a RocketScan like dashboard explorer. It's my first time using any Ethereum. I'm not sure what that is. He says, so most of the time it was spent on boilerplate code and research. He said I found focus on deployment, CI, I'm not sure what that is, theming, including dark mode, responsive designs, charts, and general concept for processing, storing, and indexing Web3 events and data. So this is my initial thought was to focus on Saturn 2 related things like mega pools, express queues, etc. This is, but I might explore other areas too. So it says, expect nothing and I won't disappoint you. So happy to receive any feedback or ideas that will benefit the community. It says that's why I'm building it. So if you have a look at some of these screenshots, it's got information about different node operators over time, and different pieces of information about them. And then here's this image of dark mode and web mode as well. So it looks like some nice information. So it looks like Drizzle is working on that, which is really cool because RocketScan has not been behaving so well recently. And the more we have for that, the better. And Schifrin replied by saying, looking awesome so far. So I'm really looking forward to having something like RocketScan for the community again. I absolutely loved RocketScan when it was functional. I used to use it every day, and now I feel like I never use it because it's broken a lot of the times when I try to. So yeah, this is really, really awesome. I'm not trying to say anything bad about Pateris. Of course, Pateris has a life in the family, and keeping something like RocketScan up to date is really difficult and a lot of work. So kudos to Pateris for even making it in the first place. But the community, I feel like, really needs something like RocketScan. So having this would be really, really great. So keep up the good work, Drizzle. I really hope that you can make good progress with that soon. Okay, in some slightly less good news, here we have information about the queues for Saturn 0, like the current state of the queue for people waiting to get their validators online. It seems like for the last month, it's been hovering around this 300 validator amount. It seems like that's where things have kind of stalled out. People don't really want to join the queue that's longer than that. So yeah, that's where that's stuck. But the thing that's kind of not nice is this queue time wait. So the person who is at the front of the queue has waited for 48 days, which is a new all-time high. The previous was 46 days, and before that it was 45 days, and before that it was 32 days. So yeah, this is a new high. It has been the case recently that when every month or so we get a big mint, and that eats up a whole bunch of the queue. But this is not nice for those people who've been in the queue for this long. So yeah, that's all I have to say. There's a little bit of sad news there for Rocket Pool. Okay, so for some staking news, we have news from ETHStaker, and this was news that was actually posted a couple of days ago, but it is the Pectra hard fork in less than 48 hours. So I figured it's a really good time now to remind you all that update your clients. So if you're a Rocket Pool node operator, update to the latest version of the smart node. If you are running validators for NodeSet, then update to the latest version of Hyperdrive. If you are any like solo staker, whatever else kind of staking setup you have, now is the time for you to update your validators. There might be another update tomorrow potentially, but that might be the case. But the thing to remember is that you need to update your validators. So do that, and then once you get to May 7th, which is the day after tomorrow, 9:15 a.m. UTC, which is around 4:15 a.m. Eastern, I want to say. I'm not exactly sure. Please check where you are to make sure that's the correct time. But This is what Eatstaker are saying, that you can watch their live stream. I think there's going to be another live stream as well from the Nethermind crew. There tend to be 2 live streams normally. This is the one that I'll be watching. So this one will have people from Eatstaker, of course, they're the ones hosting it, but also Ethereum cat holders, Ethereum Foundation, Daily Gwei, and Bankless. So you'll be seeing a whole lot of really familiar faces on this live stream. And it says that oh yeah, here it is. So the network will fork midway through the stream. So the stream will be about an hour and a half long, 45 minutes before the fork, 45 minutes after the fork, and the fork will take place at 10:05 a.m. UTC, which is I think 5 o'clock and 5 minutes Eastern time. But I need to confirm that. But yeah, the main thing that I want to tell you guys is to please update your nodes if you're staking, and let's get ready for Pectra. There'll be a POAP available if you join the Eatstaker call, so that should be a good one. Okay, let's move on to some Ethereum news now, and here we have some news from Vitalik, and Vitalik says that he has a new idea of simplifying the L1. This is a blog post Vitalik put out a couple of days ago. So he says Ethereum aims to be the world ledger, the platform that stores civilizations, assets, and records, the base layer for finance, governance, high value data authentication, and more. This requires 2 things: scalability and resilience. This is the Fusaka hard fork aims to increase the amount of data space available to L2 data by 10x. And the current proposed 2026 roadmap includes a similarly large increase for the layer 1. It says, meanwhile, the merge upgraded Ethereum to proof of stake. Ethereum's client diversity has improved rapidly, and work on ZK verifiability, work quantum resistance is progressing, and applications are getting more and more robust. So he says the goal of this post is to shine light on the aspect of resilience and ultimately scalability that is just as important and easy to undervalue, and that says the protocol simplicity. So there's a lot of arguments made for things like tech debt, and just more complex as protocols get more complex. So here Vitalik is saying that it's time to make the protocol simpler. And he says there is a chain which is made up of a series of blocks. Each block is connected to the previous block by a hash. Each block's validity is verified proof of work, which means checking that the first few bytes of its hashes are zeros. Each block contains transactions. Transactions spend coins that were either created through a mining process or outputted by previous transactions, and that's pretty much it. So he says, that's pretty much it. He says, even a smart high school student is capable of fully wrapping their head around and understanding the Bitcoin protocol. A programmer is capable of writing a client as a hobby project. He says, keeping the protocol simple brings a number of benefits that are key to Bitcoin and Ethereum, be incredibly neutral, a globally trusted base layer. So what Vitalik here is saying that we need to simplify the consensus for Ethereum. He says that this post will describe how Ethereum 5 years from now can be as close to as simple as Bitcoin. So he talks about things like 3-slot finality, a reduced number of active validators at a time, Stark-based aggregation protocols, a simpler and more robust peer-to-peer architecture, rethink how validators enter, exit, and withdrawal, key transition and activity leak, and other related mechanisms work. And he says simplifying the execution layer as well. And he says that we want to replace the EVM with either RISC-V or another VM that is the VM that Ethereum ZK approvals will be written in. So he says this will radical improvement in efficiency, radical improvement in simplicity, all the benefits that motivated by EOF, such as code sections, more static analysis friendliness, and larger code size limits. And he says more options for developers and removal of the need for most pre-compiles, and then backward compatibility as well, how that's really important. He says there isn't one single way to delineate what is the Ethereum code base, and then there's more information as well. So yeah, this is a really interesting post by Vitalik. Got some interesting feedback because Bitcoiners are like, yeah, Bitcoin's the best, blah, blah, blah. But I think this just shows that, how seriously Vitalik takes looking at the longer term picture and seeing where Ethereum can be in a few years' time. So read all of this if you want the full information. But Vitalik says that simplicity is in many ways similar to decentralization. Both are upstream of a goal of resilience. Explicitly valuing simplicity requires some cultural change. So read that post. It's really interesting, like I said, and Vitalik covers a whole lot of different things in there that you can wrap your head around. Okay, so the Beam chain, which is one way of developing Ethereum in the years to come, that's the consensus layer, had their call number 5, and there was a summary here about that. So this one focused on the tested proposal separation, and following a context setting introduction by Justin and Julian from the EF Robust Incentive Group, they continued their discussion. So if you are interested in all that is happening with the Beam chain and the work that's going on there, definitely check out these calls that take place. But if you can't check out the call, then read these threads that give you an update on what's happening there. So yeah, there's some really good information here, and work is still going along, and people are working really hard on making Ethereum better every day. So check out this thread by Ladislaus, and you'll get some good ideas of what's happening with the Beamchain development. Okay, Ethereum.org nowadays puts out these Twitter threads where people who, like different prominent members of the Ethereum community, come and write guest pieces. People like Anthony Sassano wrote some. This one is from Omid, and you might have seen me mention him on Rocket Fuel before. So he says Ethereum is for financial market infrastructure, a guest thread. So he says, I recently co-authored a paper with the ECB, European Central Bank. He says questions such as streaming payments, omni-asset settlement, programmability, and disintermediation. He says on payments, stable coins will be great. And then he says the TradFi settlement systems are a single asset, meaning they manage ownership of just one thing. Tokenization makes Ethereum omni-asset. He says today most financial products are already automated, but in narrow ways. Programmability will help you grow that. He says perhaps more importantly, smart contracts are resilient and trustless, and automation is not very useful if the underlying platform can censor or go down. Here Ethereum is exceptional, even by blockchain standards. Blockchain should never go down. And then there's more information about trustless programmability and disintermediation as well, about that should intermediaries are not always bad, but an over-reliance on them is what is problematic, and crypto networks should offer both options, but as the default is peer-to-peer finance. And then goes on to talk a platform like Ethereum doesn't just make finance cheaper, faster, and safer, it also makes it more innovative. There's a long history of new infrastructure leading to financial innovation, like when the Telegraph enabled wire transfers. So there's more information here, and you can read the full paper by Omid, but this is really, really cool to see that Ethereum is literally building better financial rails for the whole world's financial system, and that is something I am incredibly excited about. Okay, another thing that I'm incredibly excited about is Aztec, and they are layer 2 on Ethereum that is pushing to be privacy maximalist, and they have a public testnet that is live. So they said the privacy revolution is finally here, and for a decade they've focused on scaling infrastructure to onboard the world, and what they're doing now is they're building what isn't possible before, like private dexes, games with hidden info, social apps, and more, and you can try it out. And this will of course be a layer 2 on Ethereum, and they are saying that they want to build a fully private composable application on Ethereum's first fully decentralized L2. So yeah, this is a whole lot of people that are prominent in the Ethereum ecosystem gave them huge congrats. So Fedi's intern says congrats. Victor Bunin, who works with Coinbase, says congratulations. Jesse from Base says congratulations. And a whole lot more as well. Like Sudo, who used to work with Scroll, says ZK Money, my beloved gone but not forgotten. And a whole lot of people more as well. So yeah, this is a really cool product that is being built out. I am always going to be the first person to champion protocols and projects that really build with those Ethereum values in mind. And Aztec is definitely one of those that is doing it. So huge shout out to Aztec. Okay, Securitize put out a report saying that they have paid out $33 million in dividends. Now, Securitize are the company that are working with BlackRock to build the BUIDL fund, and they're saying that it's now on 7 chains. Ethereum is like 90% plus of that, and it is also available on Avalanche, Arbitrum, Aptos, Solana, Polygon, Optimism. For the rest of those, it's pretty much like 1% of each one. But what I want to show you here is like that, they are managing 50 million on Aptos, 30 million on Arbitrum, 50 million on Avax, but on Ethereum, it is managing 91.4% of their AUM. And that's pretty much all of it. With Optimism, it's 26 million. With Polygon, it is 33 million, and Solana it's 20 million. So yeah, just it shows you just how staggeringly huge Ethereum is a part of someone like Securitize. And we saw last week that BlackRock wanted to bring a $150 billion fund of theirs on chain as well. And with the comments that they've been making from their community, well, from their leaders, is that it's almost definitely going to be on Ethereum, either the vast majority of it or all of it. I can't see it being anything else. So yeah, if you have the BUIDL fund, they actually are paying out dividends. So congratulations if you got paid, but that is really cool. Okay, I really like this idea from Vance Spencer, and this is tying into this BUIDL thing. And he says the only place for large-scale TradFi experiments where something like BUIDL can reach $2 to $3 billion in AUM is on Ethereum Layer 1. He says that's the only place where the capital markets are deep enough, and the more experiments that take place here, the deeper the capital markets get. I think this is really interesting point, and I think not enough people are aware of this. So he goes on to say stablecoins being issued on Ethereum are bullish for ETH. This is because many of these stablecoins are earning below benchmark yield. As a result, the chain has network effects around being a financial mechanism for large-scale capital market experiments, especially TradFi products like BUIDL. It's an infinite garden. And then he was talking about Lorishin, but yeah, forget about that. I'm just focusing on those first two tweets. And what I really want to bring to your attention here is this idea of BlackRock are going to go to Ethereum, but then Fidelity might go to another place even though they're going to Ethereum, and Charles Schwab might go to another place even though they're going to Ethereum, and then BNY are going to go to another chain even though they're going to Ethereum. What ends up happening is the more and more a single entity builds on one chain, others realize that that is the place that they have to be as well. So why is that? Vance Spencer, like he said, he explains it really well. He says the more something is on one chain, the more liquidity there is on that chain to host that. And with deeper liquidity comes people using that particular chain to build more things on. So this experiment from BlackRock, right, like it was $2 to $3 billion. The vast majority, 91.4% of that is on Ethereum. So when it comes to the next fund, now, $150 billion potentially of assets, where is that going to be? Well, it's going to carry on with what they do, what they work, where their liquidity already is, where their products already are. They'll put that on Ethereum. They're not going to divide out their assets, with some things being on one chain, other things being on another chain, etc. What they're going to do is put the money where the assets are, and more assets will breed deeper and deeper liquidity, more and more assets. And this creates the most amazing flywheel where in time you'll see that unless you are developing on Ethereum Layer 1, you just won't have access to those markets, and people will demand access to all those markets, right? Because that's the beauty of DeFi. Like, you want to take assets from one protocol, mix it with another protocol, and then deposit into a third protocol, whatever kind of DeFi games you want to play. That won't be possible in the same way, because you don't know what the root of trust of those assets would be unless they're all on the same blockchain. So if they are all on Ethereum Layer 1, then you know that the root of trust of those assets are on Layer 1 Ethereum. However, if some of them are on Ethereum Layer 1 and some of them are on Solana, and then you use something like Wormhole or whatever to bridge them over from Solana to Ethereum, the root of trust of those are still on Solana. So if something goes wrong, the assets that you brought over will not have the same security guarantees as the ones on Ethereum do. So those are the kind of things that I think people who manage these multi-trillion-dollar assets, those are the kind of things that they're really paying attention to. And the more and more of these things that happen on Ethereum, the more and more subsequent ones will happen on Ethereum as well. So this was really interesting, for information from BUIDL, but also this take from Vance Spencer, I think really kind of drives it home that liquidity, deep liquidity, and the Lindy effects, just how resilient has this protocol been, and just how well do these products work on this protocol. Those things together just are massively they just massively drive further adoption. And once that gets going, it's really difficult for anyone else to play catch up or take away any meaningful slice. Okay, I really like this take from Adriano, and he's talking about Alibaba, subsidiary company launching in Ethereum L2. So he says Alibaba's subsidiary Ant Digital has just launched in Ethereum L2, focused on the tokenization of real-world assets. Now, this is a sentence that I think that you're going to be hearing many times in like the year or many years ahead. eventually, the thesis goes that pretty much every major company in the world will have their own L2. They will be publishing they'll be managing their own chain and publishing all their data to Ethereum layer one. These will be based native ultrasound rollups. They'll be posting their blobs to Ethereum, and the flywheel that will come with that was just going to be astonishing. And we're seeing this happen with so many different places now, right? Like, we're seeing it happen in the US, we're seeing it happen in Asia, we're seeing it happen in Europe. These big, huge financial powerhouses, like Alibaba is, like, I think the second biggest company in China, with their subsidiaries working on Ethereum. Like, this is exactly what the previous comment I was saying as well, right? Like, when that flywheel gets going, like when Alibaba's other subsidiaries, or when Alibaba itself, like the parent company, decides to come on chain, which they will, because everything's going on chain, where are they going to go, right? Are they just going to make their own chain when they've already got stuff that's liquid on Ethereum? Or are they going to go to a different chain? And then, you get those same issues that I was just mentioning about, like, the roots of trust. Or are they just going to build on Ethereum to keep everything within that ecosystem and build upon each other like money's Legos should? There's only one answer to that. So yeah, that is something that I think is really, really, really great to see. Ryan here has more information on it, and he says that Alibaba, a $290 billion public company, subsidiary announces ETH L2, which is going to be EVM compatible, proprietary code base. They built their own tech stack. It's dual L1 proofs using ZK and TEE, which is a trusted execution environment. There'll be a public L2 that anyone can use, and they're launching it in Q3 of 2025. So it says ETH corporate L2 thesis is playing out. Now, this has been a point of FUD for some people. Or ETH is becoming a Fed chain, and all these companies are building on on Ethereum, and Wall Street is building on Ethereum, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. And, like, ETH is being captured. This is actually the furthest from the truth that you could have. Now, this is not ETH being captured. This is the actual value proposition of Ethereum playing out. Now, what do you want in a protocol you set up, right? You want it to be credibly neutral. You want to make sure that no one can stop you. It's uncensorable, and no one has any preference, like, of that you don't have, right? Like, you need these qualities to be there in a protocol for you to feel comfortable building on that. Now, the really great thing about Ethereum is, like, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, right? Like, here you have a huge, giant, multinational, global corporation that is building on Ethereum, and they, have access to the Ethereum stack just like everyone else does. And then you get, like, this small cypherpunk group that can come along and build on that exact same stack in the exact same way. That is what makes Ethereum special. And, if you want to hold on to your cypherpunk values, then don't go to this Alibaba chain, right? Like, don't go there. Don't go to Base. You can go to other places. And that is what is really, really amazing to see, is that there are all these other places available where you can do this. And let's actually talk about one of those places right now. Okay, so we got this really cool announcement from a new L2, and they're saying that they are called Ethereum R1, and they're introducing Ethereum R1, the neutral rollup built for Ethereum. No token, no private sales, no governance cult, just Ethereum values, public funding, and community control. Why R1 matters and how you can join. So I saw this and I was, like, totally blown away by this. This really cool. And they're saying that it's general purpose L2s. It should be commodities, simple, replaceable, and free from centralization dependencies or risky governance. And they said that R1 is their answer to this call. And the rollup grounded in credible neutrality, decentralization, and censorship resistance. So, like I was saying, right, you got Alibaba, you got BlackRock, Sony, whoever else you want to talk about, they're on one extreme end of the, centralization and, like, capture, if you want to call it that, which isn't, of course, capture. And then on the other side, you've got things like R1 here, and they're saying that, they really want to support these values, and they really want to support these things that make Ethereum what it is. And that's what they want at the core of their rollup, which is awesome to hear. So this is why we're doing this. Is most L2s today acting like L1s, rather than the Ethereum scaling solution. They have private allocations, opaque governance, centralized control, and this is Ethereum deserves a public decentralized alternative. So what is it? It's 100% donation funded, so they have no token. Excuse me. They'll also be launching as stage 2 from day 1. So they'll have permissionless proving, long upgrade delay, broad community multisig. There'll be public good funding until 2030, and then all fees will be burned, and they'll be replaceable by design. So they said this R1 will belong to Ethereum, not a VC firm, not a foundation, and the founders, the makers of it, said not even to us. This is infrastructure that can outlive us all. And who is it for? So this is for devs who want to contribute to a truly public rollup, app builders seeking censorship resistance home, ETH holders who want to fund Ethereum, not extraction scheme. And it's built on top of the stack built by Nethermind on their Surge stack, and Tyco as well. And so 1% of the base fee will go to Tyco DAO until 2030, or until all fees are burned, whichever comes later. An open infrastructure, open collaboration. They've got a draft roadmap, etc. So this again was one of those things where got a huge positive response, and people were just like this. They there's just like people saying, I like the idea, but aren't Ethereum values kind of what got us into this point in the first place? So it says if Ethereum community can't support its own rollup, Ethereum deserves to be captured and go to zero. What kind of thinking is that? Yeah. And then other people had ideas of what the name works like, and they're like people asking questions about like what the fees are going to be like, what they're going to do with the fees, and it says then like people are saying that just having a chain is not going to be enough, you need much more than that. And here Crypto PM says this is truly impressive. Have you not received funding from any large people? And they said that community shouldn't be dependent on Vitalik Buterin alone. And here person says you can just build things. So this is really, really cool. I'm excited about it. I really want to see more from them. The team looks like they've got some good yappers on board, because they are putting out like banger content. Like really, really good content, and they are getting a lot of attention. Like just in a few days, they've got like over 4,000 followers, and people are starting to pay attention to what they're doing. And they've had a few viral tweets already as well. And I really think that there's going to be some good stuff happening with this. So yeah, I'm excited. It's early days, but they're saying the right kind of things, and I'm really hoping that we see more positivity from R1 in the days and weeks to come. And then here there's some criticism. So Letter says no governance, and then said, but these forms. So an Ethereum aligned rollup governance gadget spec and a huge set of multi-sig with broad representation. So it says it seems like it's not fully immutable from day one. How will no decision ever be made about anything? Let's please be sensible with our claims. So I think that they're not saying that there won't be no governance. They just said no governance cult, and they didn't say that it won't be immutable. They just said they have really long upgrade warnings. And those are some of the things that current stage 1 rollups are struggling with to get to stage 2, because they are worried about there being a bug or some kind of issue, and if they signal their upgrade too far in advance, then that window becomes really risky to play with that window. So that's one of the reasons, for example, Arbitrum hasn't gone to stage 2, is because they don't want to make that window shorter. So it looks like Letters here I think might not have full understanding of what these guys want to do, but yeah, I'm still excited, and I think that they're heading in the right direction. Maybe I'm being naive and not smart, but yeah, let's see. Okay, I got a post here from Unichain, and they seem like they're doing some really cool things on their L2 as well. So it says Unichain now is the first L2 to build blocks inside a TEE. That's this trusted execution environment that we mentioned earlier that the Alibaba chain will be using. And it says that's going to unlock MEV protection, verifiable priority ordering, and support for revert protection. So it's pushing forward faster, more decentralized infrastructure built for DeFi. So this is really, really cool that they're pushing this out. So it says in most rollups, sequencing happens off chain, can't be easily audited. But with Unichain, this is going to happen inside a TEE. So after the block is built, then you'll be able to see what the block looked like before, like how it was built after the fact, basically. So, you can't front run or sandwich attack or any of that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. So it says the system is designed to support public attestations, which go live soon, and allow anyone to independently verify blocks. So that's really, really cool to see. So yeah, there's some really exciting things happening on L2 development, and it seems like different teams are doing interesting and exciting things. And I think what will happen is that as one team or another team like really pushes ahead with a topic or another, what will happen is that other teams will then adopt those standards as well. So Unichain, for example, here pushing forward with TE block building, sequencing, they will then use that technology across the OP stack, right? So here, Optimism are already saying things you love to see, and there's a lot of support for Uniswap for pushing these things forward. So yeah, I really want to see the technological limits of L2s pushed. I really, really want to see all of these one day they become, based native rollups, like ultrasound rollups. That would be really cool to see. Okay, so I hinted at Matt Hougan podcast last week. It was an interview with the Paul Barron Network. And about how Matt Hougan was saying that, there's going to be trillions of dollars of assets on Ethereum, and the ETH price is less than $1 trillion. So the idea is like, what's going to happen? Like, is ETH going to go to $1 trillion because it has $1 trillion worth of assets on it? How's that going to look? And this is actually a very, very interesting way of thinking about the value of Ethereum, like is the value of ETH even, like, so if Ethereum the network is securing trillions of dollars worth of assets, what does that mean for the price of ETH the token, like that is used in staking to protect all of those and secure all of those? Like, does it mean that we will need ETH to get more expensive and more secure? Like, because of that, the economic security will go up as ETH gets more expensive because it becomes that much more expensive to attack the network. Yeah, I think so, right? Like, that's one of the theses that will drive value to Ethereum. The more the TVL, the more valuable the chain. Now, that is just one component. Of course, there are other components as well. But I think that we're going to start seeing this narrative shift happen really, really quickly. And this is already happening right now with people like Matt Hougan. Of course, he works with Bitwise. They are ETF issuer. They have applications for new ETFs. They currently have Bitcoin and ETH ETFs. And I think that these guys are starting to see now that the tide is shifting, and it's now time to start promoting ETH to everyone who listen. And yeah, I'm really, really interested to see what the next few weeks and months are going to bring with this narrative shift. And I think that, just the idea of people saying ETH to trillions, I think is going to set a seed in their minds. And then as you keep saying it, if you keep saying it, it sometimes just become reality. So yeah, let's just keep saying it and let's see what happens. Okay, let's go to some other news now. So we've got some crypto politics news and TradFi news and a whole lot more. So we have this news about a market structure bill, and this just dropped. So there are politicians now who are putting a text together for a crypto market structure bill. Now, you might be thinking, what's a market structure bill? Well, this is basically a regulatory bill that will shape how crypto is regulated in the US. And this is, of course, just applicable to the US. There is another bill that's going through actually two other bills. One is called the Stable Act and one is called the Genius Act. And they are both related to stable coins. And this one, which is the market structure bill, will basically talk about, what is decentralization, what is, security, commodity, all of that kind of stuff. Like, what kind of rules will you need to follow in order to be deemed okay from the state. And I think this is like really, really interesting to see that this is actually coming through now. From what I'm hearing, it looks like one of the stablecoin acts is more likely to be the Genius Act, will be passed by the end of this month potentially. So we could have like official legislation at the federal level in the US, by the end of May potentially, depending on how things go. And I think once that's done, then the crypto caucus of the House and Senate will get together and try to push this bill through as well. I'll make it, get it to a point where it can be pushed through. So this is really exciting. This is really interesting. And there's already been some takes that are coming and more takes to come yet because the news just dropped earlier today. So here Justin says TLDR is that the market structure draft is an incremental, albeit meaningful rewrite of FIT 121 that we talked about last year. And it says that Titan's affiliate sales rules replaces the idea of the SEC certifying decentralization with an ongoing mature blockchain regime and channels exchange oversight through existing alternative trading system infrastructure. It says overall, this bill again would make the CTFC the dominant crypto regulator, but still gives the SEC jurisdiction until the network establishes decentralization. So Ellen and Tara shared the text for that bill, and yeah, people seem to think this is interesting. Here, Matthew Siegel as well, who works with Van Eck, said that there will be no income or wealth limits on retail buyers, no accredited investor or suitability checks. There's clear decentralization tests, no unilateral control. 10%, if you hold more than 10% of the token, you must be disclosed while the project is still centralized, and DeFi protocols exempt if they're non-custodial and don't exercise user discretion, and define stablecoins without calling them securities, and optional early registration path plus real joint SEC CFTC rulemaking. So here, this of course is a first draft. There's going to be revisions. People are going to make changes, add things, take things away, etc., etc. So this isn't going to be the final form that gets voted on in the House or Senate, but it's a solid start according to Matthew Siegel. So I'm sure there's going to be detracting opinions and people criticizing this draft, but I'll cover those as I see them. Oh, that post has been deleted. So this was Ripple desperate to buy crypto. That was the thing. The post has been deleted, so I'm sorry I can't show you the actual text. It was linked to a Cointelegraph article that says that Ripple put in a bid of $5 billion to buy Circle, the issuers of USDC stablecoin, and Circle said no. And then the story went that they put in another bid of $20 billion to buy Circle, and people were just like, wow, what is this? I guess maybe the veracity of that story wasn't quite fully there, which is why that tweet has been deleted. I'm sorry, I should have caught that before I recorded. Okay, let's talk about some TradFi moving into crypto. And yeah, there's a whole lot going on here. So it seems like everyone in TradFi wants a piece of crypto, and it seems like they're all literally chomping at the bit to get involved with crypto. And here we have a post from Watcher Guru saying, $7.13 trillion asset manager Charles Schwab is to launch a spot crypto trading platform within 12 months. So they are getting in on this. I guess they're going to be competitors to things like Coinbase and Kraken and other, TradFi crypto firms like Robinhood, etc., offering spot, and then probably later other services as well. Here we have Morgan Stanley, who have $1.3 trillion assets under management. They are also going to start offering crypto trading to E-Trade clients, which is, I guess, one of their branches. So crypto trading coming to Morgan Stanley as well. On top of that, you have Visa, who are launching a stablecoin card that is going to be built on Ethereum, actually, I think, as far as I remember. It says, together we'll build one card program that can serve the world. Developers can now launch global cards in minutes. And this is going to be starting in Latin America, which I talked about this in Rocket Fuel before, actually. Then this Cointelegraph shares this article about WorldCoin and their L2 that is built on the OP stack on Ethereum. And this is Sam Altman's World project officially launches in the US. So people in the US now can get their eyeball scanned. I think they're going to have like storefronts where you can go and get your eyeball scanned if you want. And then, they make a hash of your eye, and then they link you to an address. And then that address belongs to an actual human being. So it says they're actually going to do a lot more with that hash and that provable, proof of humanity. And this is the project also announces plans to launch a Visa card for digital assets, payments, and a Tinder verification pilot program. So I'm actually seeing a lot of attention coming onto the world chain. I've seen a few people on Twitter kind of talk about how they are either taking positions in it or just kind of like subtly hyping the project. I don't know if it's like some kind of paid, KOL, like key opinion leader, like campaign that they're doing, or just people are just interested in the tech that they're building. But the price of the world coin has gone up, as far as I know. So yeah, I guess that does help get attention onto your protocol. But of course, with this AI boom that's happening, a whole lot of people are paying attention to OpenAI, and Sam is the co-founder of OpenAI, and now of course he's the founder / co-founder of World, and that just makes sense, I think, for some people that they think that maybe WorldCoin will be a beta play for OpenAI or something like that. So yeah, interesting. Okay, that's just that's just a handful of TradFi stuff or trad industry stuff that's happening on crypto. Everything's coming to crypto, everything. Okay, final story of the day is this Apple case that was ruled on, and this just goes to show even more how everything is going to come to crypto. So a watch here says NFTs, crypto payments are now allowed in iOS apps, generational bundle for crypto consumer applications. So this was a court case that came across, that was decided in the US this week. Actually just the end of last week. And basically what happened is it was Epic Games, as far as I know, the people who made Fortnite, they took Apple to court because Apple wanted a 30% cut of any payment that happened on an app that was on iOS, the Apple App Store. And they were like, this is extortion, like this is ridiculous, like, what do they do that deserves they make this much money? There was a lot of money that Apple generate through the App Store, through these payments that happen, through their apps. They take 30% of everything, which is an obscene amount of money. Anyway, this court case ruled then that is not, that's not, you basically have a monopoly in the payment. You can't do that. You got to give people the option to pay in different ways. And now that's what's going to happen. So the guidelines have been updated. So this is the court and this is the Apple guidelines. So they said apps on the App Store storefront are not prohibited from including buttons, external links, or other calls to action when allowing users to browse NFT collections owned by others. So now you can browse NFT collections in your MetaMask wallet, for example, or whatever wallet you're using nowadays. And on there, you can see, buy NFT, and you can click that button. And before, Apple would not allow that, but now it does. It says on the United States storefront, there's no prohibition on an app, including buttons, external links, or other calls to action, and no entitlement is required to do so. And the prohibition on encouraging users to purchase to a purchasing method other than in-app purchase does not apply on the US storefront. So this is still going to work in other jurisdictions around the world until they get sued again in those areas, and they're forced to take it off. But this is actually huge. Like, the App Store now can have apps where you can pay in crypto. You can use stable coins, your crypto, to pay. There's no need to kind of bend the rules, like get people to do certain things on their desktop and then other things in their iOS. They can just do everything in their iOS now and skirt those rules by Apple, which is huge. And I think probably Google will probably start following this as well with their Google Store. SEO Beast here has a take on this, and he says, kind of funny, but I'm pretty sure like 99% of the people in here aren't even aware of the massive court decision against Apple this week. ICO is a lawyer as well. And he says, pretty sure we're less than 3 months out from seeing a ton of really great crypto-powered apps becoming iOS native, with the App Store fee tyranny gone. Fantasy top native app with USDC payment rails, in-app powered directly by Apple Pay. Yes, please. So this is the kind of thing that I think might end up being like, leading to a killer app for crypto. I just hope that it's built on Ethereum and that's what it is. So yeah, there's an incredible amount of bullish things happening in crypto right now, in Ethereum especially. And for people who are bearish, like, I don't know how you can be bearish on this tech platform. Price action short term goes up and down, whatever, but I can't help but think that this whole sector is going to like many, many trillions of dollars very soon before we know it. So yeah. Anyway, on that note, let's end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I hope you all had good weekends, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.